Pfizer. And then we're going to branch out and discuss a little geopolitics, what's going on with UBS, Credit Suisse, and a variety of other things. Pascal, as always, sir, good to talk to you. Good to see you. How are you?
Great to have you back, Tom Longo, and greetings to you, Florida, United States, and beyond. And nice to see you in good shape.
So the last time we chatted was only like 10 or 12 minutes the last time, and we'll try and keep it relatively short today.
Yeah.
You gave us a quick update as to what's going on with your lawsuit that you filed against Pfizer for the damage due to the COVID vaccines and all. Love to get an update on that. Let's just get right to it.
Just to be precise, I didn't file. It was Anna McCarthy who filed.
Okay.
The case is Anna McCarthy versus Pfizer Inc. New York, filed on the 6th of March 2023 at the New York State Supreme Court. And the argument that crystallized our arguments against Pfizer, the vaccinations, resulted, she has, as plaintiff, notified with a temporary restraining order on April 8th, 2023. That was Easter Saturday. She notified Pfizer lawyers Davis Polk and notified the judges via the secretary system of the court that actually Joe Biden's executive order 14042 that he has signed on the 9th of September 2021, force vaccinating all agencies and workplaces in the United States of America and military, was actually unconstitutional because the US Supreme Court has ruled on the 13th of January 2022 that his order 14042 was unconstitutional in breach of the First Amendment religion under the United States Constitution.
Right.
Okay. So this was a big move. That was Easter weekend, Saturday, April 8th. On April 10th, as a consequence, Joe Biden had to sign the bill HJ7. You'll find it in the White House press room. It's just one sentence. He had to sign it, ending the national emergency on COVID-19 in the United States of America.
Right.
He had to pull up the white flag. Then what happened in March 23rd of this year, the Fifth Circuit Appeals Court in New Orleans rejected Biden's claim. Biden claimed that he's the CEO of the United States of America, and they told him, you're not. And he argued that as such, he is entitled to force vaccinate US federal agency staff, employees, officers.
Right.
The judges rejected him and ruled no president has that authority, and reaffirmed vaccinations in general in the United States of America, be it military or civil, doesn't matter, and even under emergency laws, doesn't matter, is an exclusive affair between the doctor and the patient. End of statement. Ruled 23rd of March of this year, in effect now, May 11th. Now we're end of May. That meant all those crazy orders by Homeland Security to force vaccinate their employees, to demand that foreign pilots and pilots of US airlines, etc., had to vaccinate, all that collapsed. And also visitors to United States of America territory do not have to vaccinate anymore, of course. The same goes for Department of State, DOD, FBI, CIA, you name it, all agencies. You know?
Right.
And because he lost in the appeals court, he could technically appeal at the US Supreme Court, right? But he can't, because he lost with the same question already in 21 at the US Supreme Court. So that's the end of it with the vaccinations or forced vaccinations in history in the United States of America. And with that, the argument of McCarthy versus Pfizer, with that, automatically, it means any human being on this planet, the United States and the planet and vice versa, can now say, I feel religious, I don't vaccinate. under the First Amendment of the United States of America Constitution, why US companies, US products are not allowed to violate, of course, US laws at home, and not allowed to violate such laws and regulations abroad, which they did in violation.
Right.
So the whole COVID-19, with that, vaccination orders in some countries collapsed. Switzerland stopped, Germany stopped, Swiss Air stopped. They were forced vaccinating their employees under threat of job loss, can you imagine? And the one in Europe outstanding, still being stubborn, non-compliant, is the Bundeswehr, the German military, the German Ministry of Defense, was criticized last week in the Bundestag. 70 officers and soldiers had to resign because they did not agree to get injected. And the Bundestag questioned Pistorius, the Minister of Defense, that he was in violation of all those rules and regulations. And he said, we need that because of the Russian military threat. Now, how stupid can you be arguing like that?
Right.
Okay. You are weakening, poisoning your own soldiers that you would need in case
because what the Russians are going to run around with spray bottles of COVID-19. Like, it makes no sense. None.
So it shows you they're all at loss. The Minister of Health, Lauterbach, is in deep trouble now because, unfortunately, and I'm one part of it, the victims curve is going up steep. The turbo cancer cases in Germany, Switzerland, Europe are exploding. Children are dropping dead. I have calls from parents crying, weeping, saying they found their children, teenagers. It's hard to say in the morning in bed, perished. And this is hardship. This is unforgivable. So this genocide, which was driven or is driven by stopped now WHO, is a genocide. And people forget that. We're talking in excess of registered more than 50 million people worldwide killed, murdered by those injections. I mean, Operation Barbarossa in the Second World War was 26 million Soviets and Germans as a toll. And, this is a genocide of biblical dimensions. And all those people, Fauci, Dr. Baric, the CDC, the WHO, and Pfizer, and all these people, and the governments, officials that were into this, and the media, they, in my personal view, they'll face God very soon, and they'll have to answer tough questions and evidence. Dr. Martin was in the European Parliament, evidenced that US taxpayers' money by Fauci was used in Wuhan under the times of the embargo on bioweapon development, where they made gain-of-function research on spikes and creating this stuff. So, it's, I don't know, maybe I listen later to you, but that's the status on the Pfizer advancement and the case 100-197/23, filed by, again, Anna McCarthy versus Pfizer Inc., where I am part of it, is ongoing, is active, and is performing well, so to speak. Is the only one active in the world against Pfizer, actually, Inc. in New York, where Pfizer is. Pfizer is a New York State domiciled corporation, US corporation. And the same rule goes, of course, for Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Merck, all those gangsters finished. And, with Dr. Martin's evidence presented at the European Parliament, I mean, this is, it's evidence stuff. He didn't just talk about it. It was all put on the screens, patents, dates of the patents. The Rothschild family patented in 2015, I believe, the COVID-19 testing methods. How did they know? And so
you have Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European
von der
Commission,
Leyen
is deeply involved in this.
Of course. And, she thinks that she can erase it on her mobile phone, but, the phone companies' protocols have those SMSs with Burla. And I think she's finished politically, morally, ethically. this woman belongs behind bars, in my personal view, and many
Well,
others, many others, long line.
agreed. And I'll tell you that the problem, of course, for her, or the problem for us relative to her, is that she's an unelected bureaucrat.
Yeah.
And this is the structure of the European Union and the plan of these globalists, which is to insulate these people from any kind of democratic process or any kind of direct responsibility and agency for what they did, and the responsibility for what they did. And this is not just this particular issue. This is all issues. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. And that's the big issue here. Like I just read a couple of articles about what Victoria Nuland is doing to accelerate the timetable in Ukraine in order to, potentially start an open NATO versus Russia conflict starting in July. And I'm like, right. And no one elected Victoria Nuland. She was appointed, and this is where we are. And then, one of the things I find interesting is that at the same time these things are occurring, Pascal, that the longstanding Chevron doctrine of passing off agency best practices and agency recommendations as concomitant to being law, right? That Congress delegated their legislative authority to the government agencies. That doctrine is now under review. It's been taken up by the Supreme Court's on the docket for the summer. It's a very, very important point about whether or not we're going to start the process of unwinding all this, because the agencies hide behind that as their mechanisms by which to continue to implement them.
Yeah. You mentioned Ukraine war. I mean, the thing is fizzling out, I believe. Ukrainians are desperate, sending drones into Russian territory, into Moscow vicinity. One was dropping on the roof or was taken out over the Kremlin. Response hasn't come back yet, but
what I heard, and I've heard, salt this to taste, of course, because it mostly comes from Russian sources, which is that the Ukrainians are being urged by the Brits to try and get the Russians again to go offside, do something dumb, make Putin look weak, and all the rest of it. This is the typical British playbook, dirty tricks playbook that they've been pulling off for over 100 years. There's nothing new with these people, which is why they're not allowed to run around in the dark, right?
I mean, it's just staggering to see over $100 billion of US taxpayers' money went to Kiev. I saw some pictures of beach clubs in Odessa. I saw some pictures of supermarkets and luxury restaurants and hotels in Kiev yesterday, nightclubs. People queuing up, Mercedes-Benz, elegantly dressed, going out, having a party. You know what? That money is gone. That's not even gone into any purpose of military. That's gone into bank accounts of Zelensky and co. And they're washing it maybe for the Biden family in reverse. Hunter Biden, Soros, all those people, even Obama's, who are linked, the Clintons, who are linked to this land. And it's coming out. The good thing is, it's a bit perverse, but this bioweapon came from the US patent, US corporations, right? Fauci, CDC with WHO concocting and then doing this genocide. But US justice is the one now rolling it up. And and this is quite, again, I commend the New York courts in this one.
Sure.
Wow. Because my case with the Swiss president, to follow up on that question, because we talked about it earlier,
right?
Those criminal charges were rejected finally in end of April. But I took a criminal lawyer and had to file within 10 days a complaint. Now I took it to the Federal Criminal Court of Switzerland with all the evidence. I mean, the federal prosecutor rejected it with the argument that the president, a health minister, has on multiple occasions publicly warned that the vaccine is not quite safe and not quite effective. That's a load of horse. Nowhere in the internet or in videos you can find, or in print, you can find any doubt spoken out by this person against the vaccination. It was the opposite. You can be sure, you're safe, it's tested. That's all on record. I really, as a Swiss, I'm disappointed. Remember, I always said I trust Swiss justice. I'm disappointed because the federal prosecutor writing back to me as an argument, lying, covering the president. How stupid is he? because it's just delaying the process now. In criminal court, the federal criminal court, and we're going to see what's going to happen. I'm not going to predict what they say, but it's black and white. It's clear. So I'll follow up on that with you later. But this is now going into the summer session here, like in the US, I guess. And my question to you: how is the mood in the US? You got Robert Kennedy popping up. He's still a Democrat, right? Got DeSantis breaking away from Trump, betraying him. Trump is quite cool. He's quite straight. How do you see things going on there?
The bigger question is, my problem with projecting the 2024 election cycle is that I don't think we're going to even get there. Like the bigger question is actually, and the bigger worry is right now around the debt ceiling, which is what I've been banging on about in multiple podcasts and media appearances and whatnot, to say, look, this fight is literally for all the marbles, because the deal, now that we're getting some of the details of the deal that Biden and McCarthy struck, it's pretty much everything Joe Biden wanted, while McCarthy gets to say, well, we clawed back a little bit of this, we clawed back a little bit of that. It's a win. It's not a win. It's exactly not a win. And now the question is, will the House reject this? Can you get enough Democrats to join enough fiscal conservative Republicans to say, look, no one's happy about this, in such a way that this is clearly you didn't get any of the spending you wanted. We got none of the fiscal cuts we wanted.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise interest rates and force fiscal responsibility on us if we don't do something substantial. So what are we doing here? But both sides could find $890 billion for more war.
Yeah, it is crazy. And then you have, the average Americans don't have $1,000 to touch on in a case of an emergency on their accounts.
Right.
Yet you're sending a $100 billion or more to Ukraine.
I know. And it's all going to these globalists to turn Ukraine into their digital nirvana, and to continue to play this very old, very poorly conceptualized idea of the heartland, the world island, all that McKinderist stuff that goes back to the height of the British Empire in the early 19th century. And you're like, what is wrong with you people? This is one, it's not even an accurate description of the way the world operates. And then two, you're going to pour every erg of our future into this, frankly, shithole for your own benefit. And then you think we're going to just stand there and, have you feed us shit sandwiches and we go, tastes great. Like, no, it's not happening. Like the level of ungovernable that is coming from people. I'm watching every day. If you want to really get a taste of the political mood in the United States, read my Twitter feed as people literally come to me with ideas about how we can just monkey wrench the entire works. Like the guys who are walking up and buying $2,500 worth of Target LGBTQ material, trans material, and then saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, left my wallet in the car, or left my wallet at home. Does anybody have a spare $2,500 to buy this crap?" And everybody in line, the doorman, the guy manning the door, the guy checking everybody out is laughing and going, "Well done, dude." Like, that's where we are.
But the consumer is the conservative consumer. That's the middle class.
Yes.
Has a weapon, that is to boycott those companies, Target, Bud Light, all this horse crap, with this trans-aggression on children. The UN WHO manuals to sexualize minor teenagers, minors.
I know. And we're supposed to go
where there's a law. So they say that is hate speech. Well, I call this hate speech. How can you promote this? This is hate speech. It's dividing, destroying families. It is screwing up the minds of children that should be on the playground with Lego and, have an easy time before they go to college. And they are completely lost.
Pascal, it's otherworldly where we've ended up, where the left in the United States, the hard left in the United States has been pushed to in their abject and inconsolable hatred of Donald Trump. Like, and he's just been turned into this figure that, okay, well, we have to embrace everything that's not Trump in any way, manner, shape, or form. And it's like, well, every day is opposite day on the American left. And and just like in Europe, and everything is, anything pro Putin is, or anything not fully pro Ukraine is pro Putin. Like, it's insane. This kind of sick.
Yeah,
it's very sick Manichaean thinking.
The interesting part, though, in Europe, if you talk to educated people in France and have discussions behind closed doors in Germany or Switzerland, even Italy, you know what they say? They think Putin is cool. They realize that those guys in Kiev are laundering money. They realize that they're putting their own people into the meat grinder for nothing, for craziness. And they realize also, because most of us have been hurt by a bioweapon called mRNA injection, the biolabs that Russia captured are important. And I think the Russians will spill the beans very soon in public, what they found. Because there's one Canadian general they captured in last year who is interrogated in Moscow, and not only him, many officers of foreign countries who work in those labs, military, NATO staff, they are incarcerated and under investigation in Moscow every day. And, they'll talk, and they're talking. Those protocols, I believe, Putin will serve to the world when the time is right.
When he's got a viable platform from which to speak. He doesn't have one at this point. So now so when you look at it from all of these angles, you start thinking about it in terms of the financial war that's occurring between Europe and the United States over the end of LIBOR, and all of this back and forth, all of these things that I've been, you and I have talked about before, and I've been trying to weave into a holistic tapestry of how many theaters this war against humanity actually operates on. When you realize it that way, when you see it that way, you realize, okay, all of these things are coming down to these next 6 months, and their only option is to continue to escalate to the unthinkable. And at the same time, try and sell us on the idea that this is still a just war. And there is no just war.
No, I think you're right. The financial threat, I don't think we'll have a nuclear problem. I don't really believe that. Not from the Russian side, and I don't think the Americans will do it. But I see a bigger problem on the financial tug of war. Banks. For me, central banks. I spoke to Dr. Valérie Bugeaud. Look her up. I made some interviews with her. You can look her up. It's in French. She cracked the code with an economist a few weeks ago. And she told me, after 07, 08, what the central banks under the order of the BIS, which is defunct, I mean, it's bust, have decided they have securitized bank savers' assets. They lent it up to the central bank as credit. On that, they printed money and lent it back cheap to the systemic banks. And that is coming to an end. This explains to you why Credit Suisse had to be rescued overnight, or it was a forced marriage with a shotgun on the head of UBS.
Yes.
What they have done is they've moved Chernobyl. I don't know this. Credit Suisse for me is Chernobyl. It's toxic, and you don't touch it with a mile long pole. They moved that into the underground garage of UBS, hoping that it will amalgamate somehow. Well, it will not. And it's smoldering. And those derivative contracts, every one of them has one clause called cross default. So guess what? This stuff is out of control. It's melting down. I have good sources confirming independently that the derivative commitment, structured finance, unresolved products of Credit Suisse, linked products with Credit Suisse, are in the tune of, hold your breath, 14 trillion Swiss francs. That's half of the US national debt. And that bank has a capital of an equity of 40 billion Swiss francs. So that's like taking a needle, a sewing needle, and then you put on top the real life Cheops Great Pyramid of Egypt and try to balance it and hope that the needle doesn't collapse. It's over. And whether or not Credit Suisse and UBS will flip in the next few weeks or months, or be it Deutsche Bank or Unicredito in Italy, which is another huge problem.
I know.
Milan is a powder keg. It will happen, in my personal view. And I think if that happens, bank savings will not be guaranteed because 14 trillion Swiss francs, Switzerland doesn't have even a whiff of that kind of money on account as a government. So that's it. And this is why Lagarde spilled the beans that she will start this CBDC stuff in Europe, in the EU, with a spending limit of 400 euros a day. They forgot one thing. They forgot the implementation with the public. I bet you there's some stupid people, they will say, oh, it's great, I have my mobile phone. And there's some stupid, they're always stupid people. But go to the wallet of the workers and the middle class and tell them to accept the money which has a sell-by date. Won't happen.
No. What and then when you really stop to look at it, if you look at the way the last 2 months have played out, when you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this, it's very clear that all of the pressure has been placed on the United States. All of these major headlines about, oh my God, we have bank runs. They're all billionaire banks in California, regulated by Janet Yellen and her cronies at the San Francisco Fed. These are not New York systemic banks. These aren't GSIBs. As a matter of fact, all of these banks are now under the control of the New York Fed. Guess what? This is like taking out the garbage, folks, and firing all the guys who were making more money than Jamie Dimon. Okay. Seriously, like the guy who was running First Republic Bank, or was it Silicon Valley Bank, was making more money than Jamie Dimon running JP Morgan Chase, the most important bank in the world. Right. So you ask yourself, okay, so what's going on here? It's clear that they're taking the trash out. And what Yellen is trying to do is implement yield curve control and keep the spending flowing in order to be able to outlast Powell and hope that they can force a pivot. And Powell's like, no, we're raising another 25 basis points.
That's what we said a year ago, I think, or in September.
No, you and I've been talking about this for 2 years, but I was like, am I right about this? After the first rate hike, I'm like, oh, I'm right about this. And then you and I've talked about this many times since then. And so the situation with Credit Suisse and UBS, I think, is interesting because it's the AT1 cocoa bonds that are the ones that are getting written down to zero, and everything else about that deal.
They're gone. They had the fine print. The investors were stupid. They didn't read it properly. And Switzerland declared an emergency, which I must say, from their perspective, from the government perspective, having the option of a complete global meltdown of the financial system because of Credit Suisse and delaying it and giving up the cocos in an emergency, well, that's the right decision or the less stupid decision of decisions in the situation. But as we said, it's unresolved. It's like those people in the 80s when AIDS came out. They said, oh, I shower after sex, and they thought it's not going to hit me. Well, it's not like that. It's unresolved. And the problem we have is what I read here in the Swiss press every week. Every week, they call it the new wave is coming, which means there's a new wave of the last exodus of ultra high net worth accounts at Credit Suisse. And UBS, of course, if I am a big family from Brazil, I came here 20 years ago and put it in UBS because I thought the country is neutral. All these things, it's all changed from red to black.
I know.
I'm moving to Singapore. I'm moving out. I might even go to see JP Morgan Chase. No, for that matter.
No, seriously, I agree with you. I see the same thing over here. And the question now we all have is, the point I was trying to make about, like, they've put all of the onus on, the United States banking system is teetering because of these high interest rates, and the commercial mortgage-backed securities are all going to fail, and office, and I'm going to speak to Daniel DiMartino Booth about this in detail in about 2 weeks, about the office vacancies that we have in all the major markets around the country, like in Dallas and Miami and New York and whatnot. But all of that pales in comparison to once you realize that we actually have it under control relative to Europe.
Yeah.
The whole thing collapses. And
you do. And the EU is a bigger problem, because von der Leyen has signed this law whereby if you're a house owner in Germany and your house is so-called no more energy efficient, and you don't have the 250,000 euros to invest into a heat pump, you are being disowned. You're on the street. And the second thing, so mind you, EU house prices have dropped private property 30%.
Yep.
Commercial property 35 to 40% in the EU because of those laws. And that's out of control, because they're doing stuff with not even thinking. All they want is to destroy the middle class. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing best. But I will tell you, there'll be a backlash. The people will revolt peacefully in a way, hopefully peacefully. But look at France. They're not giving up. It's gone. It's finished. It's over.
They're not. Spain, the regional elections in Spain over the weekend were eye-opening. I took my eye off the ball until I saw the results this morning, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So that was good. And when I think through this, it's like when I've come to not to the conclusion. I've always thought this way, but it's like now trying to explain it to people. When you are being told something, it's for a reason. They want you to know this. And when they want you to know this, and you say to yourself, okay, now I'm an expert. And I go, how do I know this? Well, because they told me this is important, so I should know this now and have an opinion about it. What they're doing, of course, is the sleight of hand of saying, but don't look at this. So yes, the United States banking system is on the verge of collapse, and the U.S. government is at loggerheads, and they're going to default, and all of this, everybody lighting their hair on fire. When the truth of the matter is that in 17 days, quarterly tax payments are going to start coming into the United States, and the Treasury is going to be filled with trillions of dollars of tax payments for the quarterlies, and they can keep going. The real X date is the 15th of June, when Biden and Yellen's leverage over the debt ceiling talks goes away. That's the real X date, folks. Nothing else. And if they get to that point without a deal, it's at that moment that Europe starts to implode, because then everybody starts to go, oh, that's the problem. And you're starting to see people I'm starting to see this on financial Twitter, where people are starting to go, European banks look really bad. I'm like, you think?
Yeah.
Really? You think? Like, JP Morgan was able to buy First Republic, I think, 87 cents on the dollar. That's nothing. After a historic bank run like that. That actually shows you that there was a lot of value in First Republic, as bad as the thing was run. The bank run was a pure psyop, practical psyop. And then you can ask the question of whose psyop was it, but I'm not getting into that. Just that the numbers of that deal told you that First Republic was in no way in that kind of danger that they blew it up into being, and therefore you're trying to mask the fact that you've got a bigger problem somewhere else.
Yeah, you see, I'm worried when I hear bad stuff about Wells Fargo, because that's the people's bank from the land. And I heard some bad stories there creeping up as well.
I think, though, it depends. I don't know what's going to happen with Wells. I don't have a good handle on that, though they are a San Francisco-based bank, so that's the other problem, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Tell me something about Robert Kennedy. I mean, you see many things shifting here. You see Hillary Clinton endorsing DeSantis. I mean, hello.
I know.
And then you see Robert Kennedy coming up, being pro-Ukraine war yesterday or today.
I know. What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, George Soros let the cat out of the bag when he spoke at Munich, saying that we are actively promoting DeSantis to run against Trump in order to destroy both of them. Hillary Clinton and George Soros it's a disgusting image, but they're tied to the hip. So that's that. Whether DeSantis, and I don't have a good handle on this, as to whether he's savvy enough to understand he's being used or not, and whether or not him and Trump are running a kind of WWE style sleight of hand, meaning, are they really at loggerheads? Do they really don't like each other? Or is Ron, what a lot of people are starting to accuse him of being, which is that he's a WEF puppet. Personally, at this point, that becomes an easy thing to tar somebody with, the guilt by association on that stuff. So I reserve judgment. I look at what's going on in Florida, and for the most part, Ron hasn't changed. He's governing Florida the way he needs to. And, that's that. And it's a good thing. Robert Kennedy, I'll be honest with you, Pascal, I was never really jazzed about the guy's idea, candidacy in the first place. He always just felt to me like, the boomer version of Obama.
Yeah.
The hope and change candidate that, my friend Jim Kunstler thinks he's like rising to the occasion. And I'm like, I'm going to reserve judgment until we actually get there. And are Kennedy and DeSantis just, wolves in sheep's clothing for the globalists? It's a good question, and it's an open question.
Well, the Kennedys, he's riding on JFK,
right.
And that's been a long time ago now. And his track record is not that good. I mean, he had this Christmas party on 21 where he asked people to come vaxxed, blaming now his wife. Hello, you're the boss of the house. Hello.
Plastic check.
Hiding behind the skirt of his wife on this.
My wife complains at me and often enough that I'm not the head of the household often enough. So I know
that's
exactly
quite
how that
different.
works, right?
You're not a presidential candidate. Thank God you're.
I know.
And then you have his climate crisis critics who go to prison. I don't know.
Kennedy's always been terrible on the climate crisis. Like that's.
And then the Ukraine statement yesterday. That was it. I said, what?
Again.
So for me, he's a Democrat. The Democrats have ruined the modern United States of America, unfortunately. And they are still there in power. Thank God we have Congress on the other side. But it is worrying, in such a crisis to have this kind of Biden government running the show. I mean, this is bad.
Well, I know, and what scares me, Pascal, is that, and I can see it, is that this is an acceleration campaign because they sense the fact that we can see them now, and they came out from behind the curtain. We saw them for who they were. We rejected them, and now they're just saying, "Well, that doesn't matter. We're still doing exactly what we're going to do." Well, Ursula von der Leyen, every time she smiles, all I can see are canines. I don't know about you, right? And she just always looks really evil whenever she's like speaking, even when she smiles, you're like, Daddy, I'm scared. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she just looks like she's gonna reach out and through my computer screen and like latch onto my neck and suck my blood dry. And I'm not surprised. These people don't cast reflections, so it's disgusting.
Good news we have to review. Remember, we were talking about Alice Weidel and the AfD back in September last year.
Yes.
And you know what happened? I mean, they went right past the Greens, huh? They're all the way up there.
Yeah, they did. I need to see from them is a sustained move into the low 20s in Germany nationally.
Well, they're getting there at 18%. And
if they continue to poll consistently at 18 and then push up to 19, that's a great sign. For Germany, it's going to be next year's. It's going to be next year's. It's going to be next year's elections in Thuringia and Saxony that are going to tell the tale.
Yeah, well, they're 25, 28,
Well, the question is, can they get enough of a position? They had that in Saxony 4 years ago, but you can get an anti-AfD coalition together, cobble it together, which is what Merkel did then. The question now is, does the CDU leadership, which is far weaker internally than when Merkel was running the show, will that cordon sanitaire around AfD hold the next time we get to the state elections when they clearly should be, have a seat at the table? Because remember, it's always about the Bundesrat. It's not about the Bundesstaat. It's always about the Bundesrat. You get one AfD voter in there and he can negate an entire state.
Correct.
The same way the Greens have been running the show. So
correct. But you see, the Greens or the so-called Ampel, the Greens, the CDU, CSU, and the SPD, they are failing so miserably, and the COVID attack on the people is coming up at the same time. Just that, Anna McCarthy has issued a TRO against Pfizer and reported to the judges and copied Pistorius, the German defense minister. And on Twitter also you'll find it. I retweeted it also. Reminded him that they are in violation of U.S. legislation by force vaccinating U.S. soldiers. German soldiers.
German soldiers.
So we'll see where all this is going. Just last comment from you. Tell me, how is the mood on holidays, seasons in Florida? How is your...
I don't know. I'm never allowed out of the house. Like I spent Memorial Day yesterday hanging out with my friends at the local game shop, playing games and trying to remind myself of what human connection actually feels like. So I'm never a good person to ask this because I don't usually interact with humans. Because I'm not allowed. Like it's one of those things, but it's not bad. I kid when I say things like that. It feels like the tenor is a kind of it's this quiet resignation that this is bad, and this is a train that's on a course that we can't quite stop, even though we want it to stop, and we don't know how to make it stop.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people have wound themselves up into that state. And that's better than, it's better than everybody going out on Memorial Day and going rah rah for the troops. Like it's better.
Do you believe McCarthy he failed in his negotiations?
Oh, he absolutely failed.
Why is that? Because he's a smart guy. He's not stupid.
But the swamp is deep, and I think he was their choice.
Okay.
Meaning Davos's choice, the globalist choice, to do exactly what he just did. Okay. And then they're willing to burn him. They're in many ways, if they can get this thing through, they're willing to burn him to the ground. Okay. In order to get the debt ceiling taken care of until after the election, and leave it until 5 days before the electoral college for the 2024 election. They're literally holding it off until January 2nd, 2025, which is about the same time period when the electors would be going to Washington, D.C. to validate what we are all expecting to be a fraudulent election. Like, when you think about the machinations here, Kevin McCarthy, they will throw to the wolves, to Matt Gaetz and company, and to the Freedom Caucus in order to get this done, and then leave the House GOP in shambles while Biden runs the table. I think that's what their plan is, and it's a very scary one. They have to reject this debt ceiling deal and force them back to the table.
Yeah, I'm in touch with some military folks of your country.
Right,
they're telling me nothing to worry. They're telling me it's actually under military rule, the continuation of government that Trump implemented when he was president, and that there are Gitmo flights, people getting arrested, blah blah blah. What do you take of that?
Until I see it, I hope for it, but I don't expect it.
Okay,
it's one of those things. Like, I've been down this road so many times. It's hard for me to believe it, and I'd like to believe it. And I'd like to see the real evidence of it. But again, if they're taking out the trash, it's a lot of trash to be taken out. It's a big ship of state that you're trying to turn around slowly. It's the Titanic in the Suez Canal, right? So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so sometimes it's just a matter of patience and building, like you said at the outset of this, you build the case bit by bit, block by block, brick by brick, and eventually they run out of places to hide, and then they have to back down.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
We both agree that these people did wrong and they did harm to the humans, not only in America and the American military personnel, but not just the Americans. I talk about WHO.
Everyone around the world. Everyone who took the thing.
My hope is that they will face God. I will not say anything more on this channel, but that there will be justice for all those who lost their lives and they're dying now. My health is not good. doing the blood treatment, stem cells injections, and oxygen treatment, and what have not. But I'm hopeful that we're getting through this. So I think we'll wrap it up. Tom, anything from your end? My end here is Switzerland is going to the holiday season here in Europe. But if something pops up, I'll give you a call.
Please do, and all the best to you, and my sincere hope that you do come through this, because
Thank you, Godspeed. Thank you very much.
That's all we can. That's the best we can do at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. We'll talk again soon.
Sure. Bye-bye.
That'll about wrap it up for episode 144 of the Gold, Goats, and Guns podcast. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. And as always, you can follow my work over at my blog at tomluongo.me. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728. You can follow Pascal at Najadi for Justice on Twitter as well. And you can follow my work on Patreon at patreon.com/Gold, Goats, and Guns, where you can sign up for the newsletter and or the bi-weekly market reports and private blog posts. So you guys take care. You be well. We'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice. FL1728. You can follow Pascal at Najadi for Justice on Twitter as well. And you can follow my work on Patreon at patreon.com/Gold, Goats, and Guns, where you can sign up for the newsletter and or the bi-weekly market reports and private blog posts. So you guys take care. You be well. We'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.